I just want to say this before I begin. This video is going to rustle some feathers of some libertarians, some conservatives, some Democrats, so on and so forth. Anyway, this libertarian supports the unions. Shocker, it shouldn't. I'm all for the Constitution, and being someone who is for the Constitution, you gotta support the unions. If you don't support the unions, you're basically saying, oh, the little man, the average man or woman, the average Joe, oh, well, they're not important because they're not rich, blah, 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 so on and so forth. They're not part of big pharma. They're not a part of the big corporations. So essentially, what I'm saying is that when you support the little man as a constitutionalist, you're staying true to the Constitution. It's a no-brainer. So this is why I support unions. But anyway, so I'm reading this article in a magazine called USW Work magazine. It's a union steel workers magazine, steel workers union magazine. So I'm a fan of this magazine. Every now and then there are stories that catch my eye, and every time I browse through one of the magazine issues, sometimes it's just what's going on at the factories and all that, and I read the voices of workers who work there at these different steel worker factories, whether it be whatever they are. But this story really caught my eye. It's in the section called Trade Watch, which Trade Watch does sound like a show that would be on Bloomberg Television or C-SPAN or even CNBC, because I know CNBC has that Tech Watch program. Anyway, so the article of the story is titled USW members push for NAFTA changes, and the propaganda poster below it is corporations want to continue failed policies of the past. And this should be no surprise. I mean, whether you're a registered Democrat, Independent, Republican, Libertarian, whatever, it's a no-brainer if you live in any of the three countries that are a part of NAFTA, Canada, United States, or Mexico. It should be no surprise to you that you have your establishment politicians from all three of those countries who are heading their asses deep in the pockets with, foreign nations and big businesses and all that, and it should be no fucking surprise. So, why they want to continue this. So anyway, I only highlighted the most important parts of the article in my opinion. And then there's a little blurb after that which I'm going to read, and I find it's kind of embarrassing on the US's end, and I'll get to that then. So anyway, the president of the International USW Union says a couple of things, but I want to start with the first one, which is at the beginning of the introduction of the sectionals in this article. Quote, businesses have set the agenda for far too long. It has been the result of higher trade deficits, lost jobs, devastated communities, and rising income inequality, said the international president, Leo W. Gerald. And he continues saying, Quote, it's no surprise that businesses groups are can't speak. I'll reread that. Quote, it's no surprise that business groups are concerned that NAFTA's provisions are promoting offshoring may be dramatically altered, Gerald said. This guy, hold on. This guy is a genius. This guy is a genius. So anyway, he says more, and this is part of a whole section which I find is very important. Quote, organized labor is working with the administration to advance proposals that will promote growth and opportunity for workers in all three countries, which are Canada, United States, and Mexico. A deal that achieves those goals would be worthy of our support, he said. And this is the president, international president of the USW Union Association. The goals include the following. 1, limit the power of corporations and restore power to workers, communities, and sovereign governments. The current agreement contains a provision called the Investor Dispute Settlement ISDS system that allows companies to sue governments to overturn laws and force taxpayers to give corporations unlimited millions to compensate for speculated lost profits. So meaning, let's just say you have a small group of workers, let's just say who work at a stone mill factory and are, seeing rapid loss of jobs and all that, and they unionize together and so on and so forth. Basically what this ISDS law is set in place for is basically the governments can sue the companies and force the companies to fire the unionized workers. That's essentially what this is. That's in play, which is wrong on all levels. If you have any pragmatic way of thinking, and I think everyone's pragmatic on some level if you work any type of job. You really got to find out what's good for the company, and if the governments of Canada, United States, and Mexico are saying, well, it's okay for the government to sue the companies, meaning the factories, and basically suing the workers for advocating their rights, you kind of gotta say that's bullshit and call it out for what it is. But their demands are more. Eliminate rules that create incentives for companies to move jobs to lower wage countries. One step towards this goal would raise minimum wages and bolster union rights for workers in Mexico. In Mexico, they ship out jobs even more. They mention Mexico's deficit later on in the article, and I'll get to that after all this. But since Mexico's deficit is worse than the United States, well, not as bad as the United States, but close to it. Basically, the jobs in Mexico are even going to even more lower wage countries. We're talking Brazil, Venezuela, South America countries, essentially where they're going to. Their demands are more. include enforceable standards that promote strong and independent labor unions in all three countries, which should be the only trade agreement in all three countries, honestly. I mean, I have a pet peeve with certain business owners. I'll get to that later. Improve programs for workers displaced by trade, including retraining and job placement, and ensure any jobs that are lost are replaced with similar family-sustaining, community-building jobs. More demands.
So you have to get over here?
Yeah, I just want to grab it.
Everybody has to go over there, man. You're in everybody's way.
More demands they have. Include strong rule of origin language to ensure that products that get NAFTA duty-free statuses are mostly made in 3 partner countries. This must cover how and where all materials are made, not just where final products are assembled. And this is my favorite demand out of all of them, because a lot of people like to say, oh, this water bottle was made in America. This, I don't know, plunger was made in America. This fill in the blank was made in America. No, it was assembled in America. It was made in China, Japan, Vietnam, Indonesia, so on and so forth. And their final demand that's listed is create a common, consistent trade enforcement strategy with enforceable standards to control currency manipulation, illegal dumping, subsidization, and state-owned enterprises. Which would be the best decision for most factories, steel factories, manufacturing factories, so on and so forth. That would be the best, really, if they were state-owned. Like, if one company was, like, state-owned, let's just say, in Kansas. If Kansas had their own, factories that made certain parts for vehicles or planes, so on and so forth, you would see Kansas state deficit go from the red to the green. And that's same with Pennsylvania, same with New York, same with Florida, same with California, so on and so forth. Actually, though, that would be one of the best things to actually implement in the United States in general. So anyway, I mentioned that part of their demands is, ensuring that workers have more union rights in Mexico, and that, not as many jobs are taken from there. Well, this is the part of the article where they do mention about Mexico's deficit. According to the Economic Policy Institute, more than 850,000 U.S. manufacturing jobs have been lost, and 550,000 factories shuttered due to NAFTA. The U.S. trade balance with Mexico swung with a $1.7 billion surplus in 1993 to a, get a load of this, $61.4 billion deficit in 2012. That says in 2012. That is Mexico's deficit. It's 2017. Almost 6 years later. their deficit got worse. Their deficit got worse. But that was as of 2012. Tell me again, Democrats and Republicans who support NAFTA in the United States, why it's such a good program. One of our partners in the NAFTA program, Mexico, is it worse than we are at this point when it comes to a deficit? And one of the people a part of the USW said, quote, achieving these obstacles requires substantial change, Davis said. These changes, of course, will be opposed by entrenched Washington lobbyists and trade associations. 100% right, they will be opposed. You know, you could get the most NAFTA opposing Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, so on and so forth, to band together with the unions and to, you know, create better working laws in the United States. But the problem is, not going to happen. It won't happen.
Shut up.
Anyway, put a pipe in your bark. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So I love this article. I really love this article. And then there's a graph with it, which I do want to talk about before I get to the little blurb at the bottom. U.S. manufacturing employment from January 1970 through December 2014, and this going by millions. Now, from 1970 to 1990, the manufacturing jobs in the United States are, you know, well above and traveling within the 17.8 and 17.5 million through 20 million range. From 1994 to 2014, it went from the 15 million to 17.5 million jobs to 12.3 million manufacturing jobs in the United States. It went from 20 million or close to it in 1980, and currently, as of the 2014 study, 12.3 million manufacturing jobs are left in the United States. And this is due to NAFTA, due to the bill that President Bill Clinton implicated, saying,
That's not the right word.
saying, oh, this would be great for companies, this would bring in more jobs to the U.S. Bullshit. People should have called Bill Clinton on his bullshit. And they should have called Congress on that bullshit too.
They did.
But this is the blurb under the article, which I find embarrassing on the U.S. end. The title of it is, Canada Seeks to End Union-Busting Laws in the U.S. Canada, our up north neighbor country, is busting their asses to end union-busting laws in the United States. What are the United States union workers doing? Or what are the lawmakers doing? What are our representatives doing? Nothing. Jack shit. That's that's what's going on. Jack shit. That's what's happening. So anyway, this is a short parable. Much of the criticisms of the North American Free Trade Agreement NAFTA has come from American workers who rightly argue that the deal allows U.S. companies to significantly cut labor costs by moving to Mexico and then Mexico moving them to Venezuela, so on and so forth. As the three partner countries renegotiate the deal, Canada is making a similar argument to urge American lawmakers to scrap right to work for less laws. Unionized Canadian workers say that they can compete with non-union workers south of their U.S. border, so their negotiating terms is urging Americans to scrap the anti-union laws as a part of the updated NAFTA. There should not be no updated NAFTA. NAFTA should just be scrapped, which is essentially what they're going for, but they're doing it in the wrong direction. Right to work for less.
Shut up. Shut up.
I gotta edit all this out. Anyway, right to work for less that allows workers to opt out of paying union dues, although federal law still requires unions to represent all workers at the bargaining table and in grievances. Such laws are designed to starve unions of funds and weaken the labor movement. While there is little chance that such union busting laws would disappear as a result of a new NAFTA, labor leaders on both sides of the border welcomed this sentiment, which also provided a timely reminder that American workers don't necessarily enjoy the highest standard in the world. Quote, Canada's got two problems: low wage rates in Mexico and right to work states in the United States, said Jerry Dias, president of Unifor, Canada's largest private sector union. That's embarrassing on the U.S. part. Canada should not be fighting our union busting laws. We should be fighting them. Canada should not be doing that for us. We should be doing this for ourselves. I love the unions. I love the people. But sometimes the people gotta be held accountable. U.S. union workers, you should be mentioned here, not Canada. Anyway, so I'm going to read another Trade Watch article. And this one's a bit longer, but I don't care. I hope you guys enjoy. This, and see you guys next time.